Good morning. I'm a lay minister here in Verwood, and this is my thought for today. This past week, I read some poetry by a Ukrainian woman called Irina Ratushinska. She was born in Odessa on the Black Sea and was brought up during the Soviet years when Khrushchev was premier. She died in 2017 before the recent troubles. Although she was brought up in a godless society, she was puzzled as to why all the teachers of that day went to the nth degree in trying to denounce any notion of God. She concluded from that God must exist, and that he must be very powerful for them to fear him so greatly. As she grew up, she became very aware of her spiritual need, and realised that the physical world she lived in could not satisfy her. She was aware that something was missing. She searched and wrote a lot of poetry expressing her struggle to find God. One night Jesus came to her. As she penned some lines, she felt a benevolent eye looking over her shoulder. She said, "I shivered despite the delicious warmth, for I knew whose gaze it was. He had not abandoned me. He was with me, and he didn't mind that I couldn't pray properly." That night God gave her what she had been searching for, and has been referred to as spiritual water, satisfying a need in her life that the world could not supply. That is very similar to a story early on in Jesus' ministry, when he met a Samaritan woman at a well. Being a Samaritan, she was despised by many people of the day, and we are told that her love life was all over the place, for she had been married 5 times in the past and was living with a 6th, seriously frowned upon in those days. She had come to a well to draw water, and Jesus was there. In the conversation at the well, Jesus offered her spiritual water instead. He said to her, "Everyone who drinks this water, that is the physical water, will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. That is the spiritual water." Jesus was explaining to her that there is a distinction between the physical water and the spiritual water. So, what is this spiritual water that Jesus is referring to? This living water is the Holy Spirit, and is available to us just as it was to that Samaritan woman. It is God the Holy Spirit who wants to be with us and give us the peace and security that this world cannot give. It is a spiritual truth that the living water is available to everybody. It does not matter what culture we are, where we were born, what our occupation is, what our age is, what our intellect is, what we look like, where we live now. If we're a member of the human race, that living water is available to us from God. However, there is a condition to that, a condition to us drinking it. It is that we have to recognise our need for it and go before God to seek him, his forgiveness for our wrongs, and ask him for that special water. Then we can drink it and allow it to well up within us, which can give us, as Irina experienced, that delicious warmth from within, in knowing that God is with us and for us and loving us and caring for us and sustaining us. In this period of Lent, we're encouraged to examine ourselves, and if there is something deep down inside us that is not right, or there is a spiritual thirst in us, we are encouraged to earnestly seek God and receive this water. We can do that today or tomorrow or the day after. All we have to do is get alone with God, just as the woman at the well did, and just as Irina did that evening in Odessa, and ask God for that water. Thank you for listening.